Hello everybody, this is Cheri from djcenter.blogspot.com, and today I have what I hope will be a short video of what's on my desk. The purpose for doing this video is I just did a big desk cleanup, getting ready from old projects, clearing them all off, getting ready to start new projects, and I really needed to get organized. And in the process of that, I thought, how can I buy myself a little bit of space? And I thought the best way to do it is to reorganize and clean up. So that's what I did. I spent some time yesterday cleaning up, and I really like the way it turned out. And these are the things that I use all the time. So what you're seeing here as I'm walking around is the back side of the desk. Of course, I work from the front side. I've moved my chair out of the way so we can get to things easily. But I'm coming around this side because this piece, I can't recall if I've ever put this on a video before. And I will put links in the description box below to the craft room video tour, and then there's a second video where I did kind of an updated craft room tour, but a lot of the focus was on the Christmas craft area that I designed for that. But this little guy here is just one of those mail sorters. It's 3 slots that you would set on your desk to sort your bills and stuff in. But I put those, my husband screwed it into the side of the drawers so that I could keep my scoreboards and my slide cutters on there. I added a couple of things because I'm doing more watercoloring. I added this. This is just a dollar store. It's old. Little whiteboard like what kids could play with, but I use it to take down my watercolor papers when I'm doing watercoloring. So that's there. And then the Make Art Station, I wouldn't want to put a lot more than that on there. One, because the fuller it is, the more difficult it is to get things in and out. But also I don't want the weight, because I'm afraid too much weight and that'll just pull it right off. Even though it's screwed in, it's thin screws. The other thing that I'm going to show, and primarily this focus will be with what's on the desk, but there are a couple of other items off the desk that I want to show because this is very functional for my crafting. And the first of those items is this little bin here. This is a little collapsible bin that I got from Close to My Heart years ago. It collapses all the way down so that you can take it to crops for trash. I keep it right there so that I can drop recycled paper that, you know, small enough that you don't want to do anything with it, but rather than drop it in the trash, I just put it in there, and then I keep my trash can under my desk for things like that. So that's the first item off the desk. The second one will come at the end of the video. But as we move to the desk, at a glance, if you've seen my other videos, nothing's changed. But the reality is I made quite a few little changes that I think will make a big impact. The first one is this corner right here. So previously I had, and this was probably not in a video, but previously I had like a glass dish. It was shallow. It's a baking dish, a little bit smaller than this, but I would use it when I was doing a project with stencils and things like that that needed to be cleaned, but I didn't want to clean it right that second. So I would keep a little bit of water in it. It sat on a towel, and then I would drop the stencil, or maybe it might be maybe I was doing something with gesso or something, the tools. I would just drop it right in there. And then I would take it off when the crafting session was over. And I realized I don't do that kind of crafting every time I sit down to craft, so why do I have it sitting here? So I moved that around, and I put this bin here, which sat on the opposite end of the desk, kind of cluttering things up, and I really felt almost claustrophobic in that corner because there's so much stuff there. So by moving it here, this is just a place where I drop scraps of paper that I can grab. You know, I need a card front, and look, there's a piece plenty big for a card front. There's smaller pieces if I want to just try stamping something. There are a couple pieces of like packaging plastic inserts that I keep in there just so that it's at my fingertips. I really don't have anywhere else to put it. And then somewhere buried in here, and I just reburied it, there is a single solitary sticker, and it's sitting there so that I don't forget to use it, but now I'll have to dig it out again. But other than that, this is just for solid colored, and as you can see, I've done more with white, and most of it's white, but solid color, small scraps. Now some of my other larger, like my solid colored pieces, those usually end up going back in the Ziploc bag where I store the paper that it matches. So this will probably always pretty much either be white or off-white or maybe watercolor scraps, but there won't be a lot of colored scraps in there. There's 1 or 2 in there now. So in this corner, I also have stuff that I've had for years. This particular tray, I've had this, I don't know how long I've had that. It keeps different markers, and they're sorted, and different specialty pens and those kind of things. The hand sanitizer sits over there, unless you think, man, you're crazy, you always are cleaning. No, I am probably a little bit that too, but for the most part it sits on my desk for if I do need it, because I feel like my hands need a quick sanitize, but mostly it's there to clean, you know, the glass mat. Because if you have not used hand sanitizer to clean your glass mat, I highly recommend it. It is wonderful for keeping that thing shiny and sparkly. This is actually a roll of paper towels that is cut down. Long story, but basically it's I needed the other part of the roll for something else, so rather than waste this, I keep it here, and then if I have a little spill, I'll clean it up. If I have a big spill, of course I keep paper towels handy. So nothing's really changed there except for just this organization here and decluttering that. When we move up into right here, again, nothing's really changed. Perfect Pearl water spray, always on my craft table. It just because sometimes if it's sitting there, if I'm looking for just that extra little pop of sparkle or something, that's perfect. And if it's sitting there, I remember to do it and grab it. I always keep my water distress sprayer. I have an identical one that I store somewhere completely different, has washi tape around the rim, that is full of alcohol for when I'm doing alcohol inks, but I keep them very separate so I don't mistakenly use one when I'm trying to use the other. And then this little guy's been here for years and years, predates this desk, and I just use it. I always keep a little bottle of Glassy Accents on here. I'm currently out of Gina K Connect, but I usually keep a little tube of that there. And then if I ever want to do a project with stickles and stuff, it was designed for that in mind, and so I can put some upside down on for projects when I'm using it. The way I have my stickles stored now, I don't really need it as much, but I've just kept using what I have. So this part looks like it probably hasn't changed much. In reality, it really has. And the way that it's changed is just in the organization, not so much in the items. So I kind of mix things up. In this one, and I think this one's pretty much the same as it has been for quite some time, although I used to store this pair of scissors somewhere else, but I keep rulers and larger items so that they won't topple over the side, but they're always at my fingertips if I need them. My dusting little fingery thing that I use to dust paper debris off the desk. This one held a lot of tools. Some of your tools like your X-Acto knife and your bone folders and those kind of things. And I realized I needed a little bit more room for that. A little less room for my pens, because this is just normal pens and pencils and erasers and just your normal everyday stuff, not your specialty pens. And I thought, you know, I really don't need that many. And actually, there's more in there than what I need. From when I was doing Cocoa Daisy all the time and I got a new pen every month, I was running out of places to put them, so I put them there. And I'm not sure right now what I'm going to do with all of those. So that may even get smaller as time goes on. This guy, I don't know if you've seen him or not. This is where I store my foams. And those are clean foams only. Once I've used the foams, they go, they get Velcro to the back of whatever color ink I used it. But I just didn't go through and put a single foam on every single one, because I felt like, you know, if I'm not going to be using it that often, it's really kind of a waste of the foam if I do that. And, you know, if I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to use this light pink, but I don't hardly ever use it, I probably won't. I'll probably grab one of the dark pink ones and just use it. Who knows? This guy is new, and he sits on my desk because he's so beautiful. This is the J. Herbin 1798 Amethyst ink. That was a Christmas gift, and I love the bottle, and so I keep it there rather than keeping it with all of my fountain pen ink bottles, because it's a beautiful little bottle. So then this is where I used to have my pens and pencils, and this, I was like, man, I really need more room in there for some of my tools. That way I can move my scissors with my tools and everything. And in the process of all of that, I eliminated some of those tools that you don't use all the time, but that you always have. The X-Acto knife, the old eyelet setters. I don't use those things very often, so I just move those off and then put things that either I didn't have another place to put it or things that I use all the time. There's everything from my little pickup stick thing from Pick Me Up. This one's a silhouette one. My scissors, my, I don't know what you call it, my pokey tool, my piercer. I use that very frequently. So I keep that kind of stuff in there. This little area, nothing's really changed. I cleaned out a few things, but they're things that some of them are just things I have nowhere else to put, and maybe if I leave them there, I'll use them more often. Some of them are things that I want to use more often, like this particular roll of washi tape. I actually reach for this frequently. I don't store it with my washi tape. It's where I keep my SD cards, those kind of things. So then as we come around, I do want to point out one thing that's always on my desk. This changes with the seasons, but I always have note paper of some sort and sticky notes. And the reason I always have note paper is invariably if I don't have a piece of note paper there, I'm grabbing a piece of scrap cardstock to write down a note, whether it's an idea that I see while I'm watching YouTube while I'm crafting, or whether it's a supply list when I'm getting ready to blog, which I don't do that often, but I just need paper, and so I keep those there. Now these particular sticky notes, I probably wouldn't grab those if I wanted to mask something off, because those are, you know, nicer Cocoa Daisy sticky notes, but they are something that I would use to make a note to myself and throw it in my planner or whatever. So I keep them there. If I need some less expensive sticky notes for something to mask, I grab something like that. I keep this pin cushion on here. This is just an old, I don't know if somebody made this. I picked it up in an estate sale or yard sale or something. But I always keep decorative pins on there just because I think it looks pretty. And I have pin cushions. I think I've got 2 or 3 pin cushions just loaded with sticky pins. But the reason I keep a couple on my desk is to help me unclog bottles. So it's pretty to look at, but it's very functional. So glossy accents is probably the worst offender. I still have to unclog it even though I use those little bottles. And then this this container is what I used to hold my scissors in, and all of my scissors were in this one, but I've moved all of my less expensive paint brushes, anything paint, you know, your water brushes are in here, your palette knives are in here, there's even a foam paint brush, anything like that. Now, I've recently learned that you're supposed to store your paint brushes flat. It's better for the paint brushes. So I do have my better paint brushes stored flat in a different place, but these are just the ones if you need something really quick and you want to throw some splatters down or something that you don't need a really finer paintbrush for. That's where I keep those, always at the ready. And then this little container, this has had on my desk for quite some time. Right now it holds little packages of cardstock so that they're cut the size for an A2 card base. But they're just single pieces. So like if I'm doing stamping and stuff that I can build on, they're just like for card fronts. And then different note papers and just things I like to look at, different papers that I pre-cut for when I'm using the jelly plate, those kind of things. Some little mini pads that I purchased of, this one's black cardstock, things that I didn't want to throw in the with the other cardstock or in the watercolor drawer because I'll forget to use them, so I keep them right there. Some of the blending brushes, and of course the ever-present box of baby wipes. And then as we move back from the desk, the final couple items that are always on my desk are my Holtz Mat and this little paper cutter. And I find it so handy to have them there. It's very rare that I will peel the mat off the table and just do crafting on the table. Very rare. I would say 95 to 99% of the time I'm crafting directly on the mat. So it always just sits here and I use that. So that's what's on my desk. In the drawers, I'm not going through them. I've done them on craft room videos before. Nothing's changed. Everything that was stored in them before is stored in them now. So the items that I want to have at my fingertips so I don't have to go searching through the craft room, they're in there. Everything from there's a watercolor drawer, there is a stamp block drawer that has stamp blocks, but it also has like my Tim Holtz distress tools, all of those kind of things. I have a drawer for adhesives. Everything is all right here at my fingertips so that when I sit down to craft, it's right there, because I find if it's not, I probably won't take the extra time to use it. So the final thing that I want to show is the die cut. I said there were two things off of the desk that I wanted to show. The first was the trash bin that I use for recycling paper. This is my new die cut storage. The idea is not new. I've done something similar in the past, and you can find videos all over about this type of method. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details. I will tell you that what I've done is I put all of my dies on magnetic pieces, and I just go to Home Depot and pick up the magnetic vent covers, and it makes the dies easier to keep track of. So when I get a new set of Tim Holtz dies, I pull them out and I put them on that. I keep it always on the stash. If I get an off-brand die that just comes in the cheap thin plastic, I have these pockets. I think they were designed for stamps, but I throw a piece of cardstock in there, I glue down a piece of magnet, and I put the die on it. But I want to show you, I don't always use, looking to find one that I've done this on, I don't always use the full sheet. So this is kind of a little money saving tip. When you're cutting those, I think they come in, I think they're like 8 by 15, so kind of an odd size, and so there's lots of little scraps. And so what I do, here's one that I have space to put other dies, but I'll use those scraps up. And sometimes even if I have larger dies, I'll piece the scraps together and put them on there and glue them on, because it's not about beauty, although I want it to look nice, but it's about form and function. And so I really want them to be able to be used and use up the scraps. So because, you know, it's not super expensive, but it's also not free. So that kind of helps me do that as well. So I have them divided in a way that makes sense for me today. I may change them later, but these are only for the thin cut type dies. You know, the Thinlets from Tim Holtz and those types of dies. Thicker dies, the old foam dies, none of those are stored here. Also not stored here is Christmas. All of my Christmas stuff is together. Again, I'll put a link down to the video that shows when I made that change. And I decided when I was arranging my dies, I'm not pulling them back into the stash. Otherwise, next Christmas, I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be sorting it all out to put together, so I might as well just leave it together. So I do keep like my plates in the back. And then my Sidekick, I have a smaller, I think I only have 2 sets of Sidekick dies, except for the set that it came with. But I keep those in the little plates and different things in there. So I hope you find some of those ideas helpful. Again, the die cut storage, not original with me. There are videos all over where you can probably see how to do it. It's not difficult. It's cardstock and labels and laminating sheets. So you can do what works for you, and that's what I've done in my craft space. So I hope you find that helpful. Thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.